was analysis of Euro USD. We're on the monthly time frame just to get an idea of where this current monthly candle may go. We made a monthly high somewhere around 1420 maybe. Let's see, let's put that in manually. Text coordinates, right? So we made a monthly high somewhere around 1420. Yeah. If we drop down to we see we rejected that area and have been on a downward trend ever since. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to forecast the movement of this current monthly candle. If it's anything like this candle, we could see some further reductions to the downside, or we could see some support being formed to further refill this wick. If we drop down to the weekly time frame, as we can see, last week we made a high at 1350. Text, we label that last week's high, and I would also include last week's low. So what this does is this gives me a range by which price this current weekly candle that's about to open may retrace a bit and further head down for sells to the downside. That's if the bears take control of the market. Conversely, see this area that we're currently at for Euro USD. This is a very good area of interest for me because this would let me know if price breaks below here comfortably, I'm in it for sales. But if we maintain support along this line, we could see buys into retest the highs of last week, as I've labeled. What I like to do also is I drop down to the daily time frame and I would establish the previous day's high, which was Friday's high, and Friday's low was the weekly low. And this provides another range as well. So this new daily candle that's about to open would either retrace to sell to further downsides, go down a bit, get some support along this line and head further up, or break, sell to the downside. Alright, now that we're on the daily candle, I like to drop down to the forward candle and we could see just how price action has been developing. As I said, last week's low for me is a very important area to take note. If we break below, a strong close below, we just look for the retest and get sales down into the next downward target. I would say is could be all the way down here. That's one, and I would look out for this area as well. So these are my two downward targets. If I go to the forward time frame, we should be able to see that better. Let's check the range. That range is 150 pips. If we drop below 1139 and get a strong, nice close, I would definitely be taking sales all the way into 1.09834. So that's something to note. Conversely, if we get any support around this area, I'm taking buys to retest the previous high or the high of last week. Alright, just to recap, right? We don't want to marry any one particular bias. We have two scenarios that we're looking at. If we drop below 1172 and we get a nice retest of this area as resistance, we could sell this down into 1139 and then 1.0983. Conversely, if we maintain this support around 1172 and we see some bullish signals signaling that price has consolidated in this region long enough, we could see buys heading up into 1.12 1.4, and conversely more bullish action into 12.52. Yeah, so that's just playing the ranges as we see them happening with live price action. This is an analysis of the pound Japanese yen for the week commencing the 21st of June. Let's get into it. So we start with the monthly time frame just to get an idea of how this current monthly candle is about to close at the end of this week, month end. We made a high somewhere around 139.80 thereabout, and as you can see, we have a lot of bearish price action coming in, and hopefully we could see a fill of this wick here to see price come down into 129.30 around there. I dropped down into the weekly time frame and I'd established the weekly high of the previous week last week and the weekly low of the previous week last week. This comes in at the low comes in at 132 flat, 132. What this does is that it creates a range at which we could see price retrace a bit at the start of the week, then bearish price action could enter the market and we could see further sells breaking the low of the previous week. So what I like to do as well is other areas, weekly areas of support and resistance, like you see this candle open and close area here, or it coincides with this area of resistance. I like to, when I see things like that, I mark it out. I wouldn't put a label for it, but you know, it's something to look out for if I see price coming into these levels. If I drop down to the daily time frame, I do the same. So I'd establish the high of the previous day, so that's Friday's high. Label that in Friday's high, and well, the weekly low is Friday's low, so we have that in. So if we look at it on the daily time frame, we can see that these levels, you know, are working really great. They're basically just the highs and the lows of the monthly, weekly, and now daily. What I like to do is drop down to the forward time frame and see if I see any other zones that I think we may have missed. Looking at the higher time frame, everything seems to be looking good. What I like to do is I'd drop down to the 30-minute time frame and I'd establish the most recent support and resistance zones. So we have a zone somewhere around 132.20, just about here. That's the first area of resistance, and then the most recent area of support is just around 132 flat where we are currently. So what that does is it shows me currently the range that price is trapped within. What this does is that it shows a range of which the price is currently trapped in. I'd only look for buys if you break out of this range, find support on this area which is now resistance, for buys to the next level of resistance, which looks now to be somewhere around here. See, it's clean move to the upside. You could bring that out there so you could see, I can see this kind of things. Right. Also, the next range, if we break above there, could be headed into here. However, noting that there's a lot of bearish pressure on the pound currently for various fundamental reasons that I won't get into in this webinar. If we break below this area of support, I'm looking to get sells in. Given how the pound has been operating last week, it's highly possible that we could just continue tanking down. Not give that deep of a retracement, but just have this new weekly candle head into, or just have this current weekly candle be fully controlled by the bears and head into some of these lower levels that we previously established.